Well, good morning, good morning. I am Reverend Karen Lewis. I'm the Senior Minister of the New Vision Center, and it is my joy to welcome you here in the sanctuary on our online campus. How very blessed are we? How very blessed are we? Yes, we are so blessed. We are so blessed to live in a country where we can celebrate our connection with the divine, how we see fit. And this morning has been a wonderful, wonderful example of that already. Now, for those of you who are not here for the first time, you might be saying, what is going on the platform? There are obstacles. We're talking about freedom today. Now, that is not a surprise to anybody, right? No. The spiritual quality of freedom. Oh, by the way, do you think that there is a 4th of July in England? I hear yes, I hear no. Yeah. It is. They do have one. It comes after the 3rd of July. Yeah, for those who are like, no, they wouldn't have a 4th of July. They do. All right, there's my joke. I know, I'm not a joke teller. We're not going to do that again. So why on a weekend when we are celebrating the independence from British colonial law here in the United States of America, why are there obstacles on the platform on our way to freedom? Why, when we say, and the talk title is Let Freedom Ring, are there obstacles? Because I don't know about you, but every time when I step forward to the universe and proclaim that I want to experience a greater degree of freedom in my life, in my relationships, in the way I react with life itself, with the God of my understanding, with individuals, things come up. Just me. It's okay. I am willing to work it through right here on the platform with all of you watching. How is that? So, freedom. Freedom is what we talk about. We are a Centers for Spiritual Living. We teach the science of mind. And one of the tenets of our teaching is freedom. In our understanding of a spiritual path, it is another word for God. Freedom is another word for God, such as love, peace, harmony, joy. All of these are words for God. I did a couple of searches for freedom in our wonderful searchable database of the things that Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, has written. And there are pages and pages and pages and pages. If you were here for the pre-service meditation that starts every Sunday, 20 minutes before the service, you heard our beloved Ron Trunnell share Dr. Ernest Holmes' prayer for my country, especially around freedom, specifically for this day. I chose out of all of them one of my favorite quotes by Dr. Ernest Holmes. And it is from the What We Believe statement, so it's wonderful 13 statements of what it is that we believe here that Dr. Ernest Holmes penned back in 1929. That is a long time ago. And we still use them today. And here's the one that spoke to freedom. We believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. By all. No limitation. And so that is what we see all through our teaching, that there is There's a power for good in the universe greater than we are. It is at the very center of our being, and it is freedom. And so I invite us to affirm this together, and let's see how it lands. So I affirm that the spirit within me is free. So let's affirm it together. The spirit within me is free. The spirit within me is boundless. The spirit within me is infinite possibility. So we teach a lot of affirmation, right? We teach a lot to say these positive statements, but the change in our life truly happens when we embody it, when we bring it deep into the marrow, into the very being, into every cell. That when we move forward, when we are in an interaction that is challenging, or when we are looking at a situation where we feel limited, that there is something naturally that just comes up from deep within that says the spirit within me is boundless. Today, I would love to go on this journey to discover some of those challenges or obstacles for that to naturally happen, as well as offer some tools. And for each one, those tools are going to land a little different. So if there is somewhere you're like, yeah, that one didn't work for me, great, don't use it. Look for the one that works for you. There's no need to be offended or anything about something that doesn't work. Just don't use it. Pick the one that works for you. Ram Dass, during his lectures, would ask these great questions. He would always ask, what is keeping you bound, and what is setting you free? So let's take a moment and think in our own lives. What is keeping us bound, and what is setting us free? Is how I approach my job keeping me bound or setting me free? Is how I care for myself keeping me bound or setting me free? This relationship I find myself in, is it keeping me bound or setting me free? What is keeping me bound? I feel bound when I notice that something is not okay. And more so when somehow I feel that I need to fix it. And even worse, if I feel like I caused it. That is what's keeping me bound. Those are the moments where instead of reaching within and connecting to the spirit within me that is boundless, I feel like I have no access to it. I feel tight, small. What is setting me free? Connection, deep connection with one another, with another being, with one of my grandkids. Connection with the divine, connection that go beyond that field of right doing and wrong doing, a place where I can just meet another. That's where I find my joy. That's where I find my freedom. When I'm in the place of feeling bound, exhaustion sets in fast. And I have to work on creating connection time so I can connect with that which is unlimited within me. Perhaps this feeling that there is something wrong comes up for many of us. There's a war in Europe. COVID numbers are rising again. Governments are not doing what we want them to do. So there's no wonder that we can fall into this area of not feeling okay. And amidst all of that, we are celebrating the 4th of July today. The independence from the ruling of Great Britain. And this weekend, there's a lot of focus on a special kind of freedom, national freedom. And I love how J. Rufus Fears, the great college professor and historian, liked to ask this question. He would ask all of his students, is freedom a universal value? It's such a great question because do you know that there are languages that don't even have a word for freedom? We are here living, most of us, in the United States, and we have a certain feeling, tone that we associate with freedom. National freedom, political freedom, personal freedom. Let me define those. National freedom, that is exactly what we're celebrating this weekend. The freedom of a country to be autonomous without the meddling of any other nation. Political freedom, democracy, the right to elect our representatives, freedom of speech. And then personal freedom, the freedom to live as we choose, as long as it doesn't hurt or infringe upon the freedom of someone else. Those are the three types of freedoms that this professor identified. He comments on the history of the world, and so he would look at a time such as ancient Rome under Caesar Augustus, which very much valued national freedom. And the people who lived in Rome at that time had a lot of personal freedom, but they didn't have political freedom. Or if we look at modern-day China, very strong about national freedom, and then political freedom and personal freedom much, much lower on the value. And let's take a look at America. I think that in this country, we have always tried to balance those three freedoms. How can we balance the freedom of the nation, political freedom, and personal freedom? And the times when it got rough and the times when it gets messy, there's some imbalance there. And then people get up and stand for their idea of freedom and at times fight. And that's what makes America so great for so many of us. This country that is seeking that balance. But this search for balance is not true just in national freedom. It is very true in our personal freedom. How free are you as an individual in your personal life? How free are you to make your own decisions, to wake up in the morning and ask yourselves, what do I want to do today? And then do that. How free are you in terms of your community? Your chosen family, your family of origin, balancing your own individual needs with the needs of another, of the group of people. And how free are you in your relationship to that which is greater than you are, perhaps the cause or the divine? We are not just recipients of freedom, of that boundless spirit within that grants us freedom. We are also bearers of freedom. And that is what often brings people to a spiritual community like this one. Either we have experienced a time in our lives where we did not experience freedom and where we said, the way I live my life, that is not who I am. And that is what landed us, right there at the doorstep. I know that's true for me. And many people come to a teaching like this, they receive the healing of realizing that they are really in charge, really empowered to change their lives, and then they leave and live their lives, and that's great. And then there are those who feel that with that freedom that they have discovered, comes a responsibility to share that with others. And that is why we have classes here. That's why we say we teach spiritual living, to create a path that allows us to always reach that place within that is of the Most High. So Dr. Ernest Holmes says in that beautiful thing that the ultimate goal of life is complete freedom from all discord, and said this goal is sure to be attained by all. Here's where we come to this path. We live our lives, things are going just fine. We want to express more freedom, and we bump into something. This is something. It can be a situation, or you know what it is often? A person. And we bump into them, right? In this dance of life. And perhaps what comes up is we get in contact with our limiting beliefs. What is it that deep within is holding me back that I still believe about myself? Those of you who have been in classes with me know that for many, many years, I worked on that belief that I am not good enough. That as a woman, as a partner, I am just not enough. And so that happens when we go for more freedom. We bump into somebody who mirrors something to us that says, are you sure? You sure you now know that you are good enough? And we get to heal whatever shows up. Limiting beliefs. We make our way, we sometimes stumble through lives, and we get in contact with fear. Fear. What if this is not the truth? Fears that I have held very closely are now spilling out into the open. Challenging. But we move on, we heal that, and we come to one of my favorites, blind spots. You know, the thing about blind spots is that we really don't know what we don't know. That is why in our teaching, modeling is so important, because I can remember when I first came to the New Vision Center, I looked at people living a life I didn't even know was possible. This idea that I could be in charge of my own thoughts, and that's what generates the experiences that I'm experiencing, I had never, ever considered that. It was my blind spot. I think I have one more hidden. Let's see what this one says. Unhealed. Unhealed wounds, unhealed everything. The things that are still unhealed within us have a tendency to rise up when we go for a greater expression of life through us. On this path to freedom, those are the challenges that are normal for us to encounter. And I wanted to come up with something that we can take with us into our week, into the next couple of months, that can help us remember, what do I do when I stumble over one of those obstacles? And here is my solution. Be you. Be you. Now, you might say, Reverend Karen, that's okay. So it's actually an acronym. So let's see if we can solve it. We start with B. Releasing blame. Blame, beloveds, this idea that there is something wrong and it is somebody else's fault, that is what's holding us in victim consciousness. The flip side to blame is shame. That is when something is wrong, when I perceive something as being wrong, and I'm the one to blame. That is what brings forth the shame. The basics, the fundamental basis to discovering and living more freedom in our life is to release blame of all nature. How many of you have ever done that experiment where we have a rubber band, and the moment we blame something, the weather, the ex, the government, the person who just pulled in front of us, whatever, we had to flick it and switch it over? Who has ever done that? Who has ever done it for 21 days in a row? I start every day over again, right? However, this is what it happens. It brings the attention to how much we are engaged in the business of blaming. So that's the first thing. In order to create more freedom in our lives, it's release blame. And then we come to E of BU, and the E is really, I want to bring forth a conversation about equity versus equality. We hear a lot about equality, and I would really like to bring forth for you to consider equity. Equity can be defined as giving everyone what they need to be successful. In other words, it's not what equality is, giving everyone the same. And we have a cartoon, I believe, I hope everybody can see it, that illustrates that so wonderfully, right? Equality is everybody's getting the same pedestal to stand on to watch the baseball game. It doesn't work for everyone. And there's equity, giving everyone what they need in order to reach the space where we can see. Now, how does that translate to us experiencing freedom? So often in classes and in sessions, I hear people say, I should be further. I should know this by now. It is so important to remember not everyone starts at the same starting point. And it takes whatever it takes. What's important that you are walking your individual path. Be you. The Y stands for yield. Give yourself to the God of your understanding completely. This is where a unique daily spiritual practice comes in. Find what works for you and do it daily. Enjoy it. Look forward to it. I just had lunch with a friend who's an artist who gets up in the morning and her spiritual practice is to create a mandala. That is her spiritual practice. Yes, meditation, chanting, dancing, whatever works for you, do it. That's what's important. Yield. Yield the smallness, the tightness that we experience. Let it go and give into the greater realization of the good. O stands for optimize your path. I had so much fun thinking about this particular path and how it's reflected in my life. I invite you to do that for yourself. Find out where your soul is calling you, where you feel connected enough that you can actually hear the message, and where you find the courage to live by it. This beloved community wants to support you every step of the way. And then the last letter is U. Utilize your unique gifts. This magnificent being that is sitting in the chair you're sitting in, or who's right looking back from the mirror at you, is a unique expression of the divine. What you have to give through your willingness to heal whatever is in the way is priceless to the world and is what the world is needing right now. For you to step up powerfully and proclaim, I am me, and I am taking my life force to heal whatever needs to be healed within me so that I can reveal more of the goodness of life, of love, of peace, of harmony in the world. That, beloved, is the calling. And when we do that, we let freedom ring through us. I am so grateful you are on this journey with me. Much love. Thank you. And so let us anchor this in prayer. I invite all of the practitioners and the practitioner students, the ministers of this teaching, just rise, hold this consciousness of availability with me. This space where we know that there is only one. One love, one peace, one harmony, one infinite presence. And as we step powerfully forward into this experience of it, we unify with it and recognize that it is truly within me, that it is truly at the center of my being. We recognize sweet spirit as love and peace, as freedom, as joy, as harmony, as abundance, as beingness. And so how very grateful I am to speak a word of utter freedom. This spiritual freedom is available. That we have the right and the choice and the freedom to find out how to make it so in our lives. This prayer is a prayer of acknowledging the goodness of life. That all people everywhere have this call for freedom in one way or another within them. And so I take this word and place it into universal law, the law that says yes, yes, my beloved. And together we anchor this truth as we say, so it is.